Hello everybody, Alco Diesel Guy back with you, or ADG for short. I'd like to welcome you to my long dormant HO scale layout, which a lot of people have been asking about as to why I haven't done much with it. Well, the long and the short of it is a couple of unforeseen and unfortunate series of events took place. Start with, unfortunately, we had the unfortunate events of 2019-2020. I'm not going to, for obvious reasons, I can't define what they are because of the YouTube algorithms. Let's just say that those in turn made it impossible for me to work on this layout because there was a whole bunch of food supplies. In fact, you can still see some of what was left here that basically blocked this area and filled it up because I'm in a mountainous area and the supplies around this region basically dried up for a time being. It did recover very quickly, but it became very tricky to get food and stuff, and we started stocking up to sort of counter that. Luckily, of course, that all passed and we're beyond it. Then, unfortunately, as I was going to start to really amp things up here, of course, by this point, the food was going to get moved and everything else. My mother suffered a great fall a number of years ago during that period, right after that period, I should say, and was unable to walk for a good point in time. I had to go to rehab for a while, and as a result, there was no real time to deal with this. We had a lot of fancy equipment being stashed in here. Anything that couldn't fit anywhere else got put in my layout area. Now all that's done, and it's time to finally get this layout up and running. One of the reasons why I didn't bring it up so quickly is a lot of people had criticized this layout for not being meaningless and not having a purpose, excuse me, not having industries to deliver to. So I decided if I was going to bring this back, I was going to bring it back better than ever. So as you see here, I've been cleaning the heck out of this. I've already started some work here. What I plan to do is build a small branch right next to my engine house here. I'm going to put a three-way switch, I think, in here, or a curve switch, depending upon how this works out. Pardon me, I've got a little congestion today. Going to run a train. I'm going to have the train come off here, take this little branch here, and go all the way around past the engine house to a new industry I'm going to build back there. And that's going to be where the train effectively is going to unload cars and stuff. It's going to give this thing obviously more of a purpose and a little bit more, nice little side project to do, and also make this thing a little bit better than it was before. Now again, this layout hasn't operated in about 3 or 4 years, so I don't know what's going to work out and what's not, so I figured this would be the easiest way of getting started with it. I would deal with the other problems next, because to be honest, I've been wanting to do this extension since before I shut it down. So anyway, what I've got today is my drills. I've got two of them, two of these older Black & Decker battery jobs. Basically today what I'm going to do is I'm going to unshim the two support areas here. I'm going to place these two angle irons in place, and what we should have is going to be like two L's that will support the new extension going out to the end here. Then I'm going to install some of these shelf support brackets. I've got one that I've custom cut for that are going to support the extension itself. I'll see how many I need. I'm not going to cut any wood. I'm just basically putting supports in today, and I may tie the wood down. I probably will, at least rudimentary. I can't speak today, to see exactly how that's going to work, and if I need to make any changes, I'll make them. So anywho, without further ado, let's get going here. Screwdriver into the hole. No turning back now, folks. So those of you familiar with this particular layout, better take your last looks, because it's not going to look like that once I'm done making videos here. And it might also help if I got these engines out of the way. Again, these guys haven't worked in about 3 or 4 years, and you can tell they got dust all over them. I had planned to get back in here and clean them, but it just didn't happen. Let's go move these rather haphazardly out of here, because this is an area where they probably would get damaged if they stayed in place. To my rebuilt C420s, I think they both have TCS kits in them. And I also did finish another model that had been sitting dormant for a while, about a year ago. This one over here, which now has a TCS decoder kit on it. More about that later. Anyway, back onto this project. Let's get going here. Electronic screwdriver up. And let's go remove some screws. Okay, so now you see I have these in place. Again, what I did is did these two screws that held them in place. I had to redo this screw here, because unfortunately that one broke. I should have used a longer one. I'm going to have a good stash of screws here, so I just made another. I have to cover that hole up with something else. Anywho, onwards and upwards, I now have these things very securely in place. And if we take a look right now, I have this piece here, which I plan to put on top. I had this actually tied down already once before. I'm just going to put it in loosely to show you. As we can see, this is actually very solid. The main issue I have now is to do with the fit here. If we look here on these two angle iron things, which are actually from a bed frame, I don't know if I mentioned that before, the side here where the angle iron butts up against the other piece is raised. So as a result, it's causing a height issue here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a little unique technique I've learned. I'm going to put a little paint on both of these sides, place this board on top the way I want it, and then just chisel out some space to let these sections rest. So they will be level, essentially, with the board. I should also mention I had to drill some holes through the angle iron, one over here, one over there, one over here as well, and then of course one here to secure it. That's the first security hole I just made so I could sort of put things in rudimentary, so I could figure out what I was doing. Anywho, I'm going to go now and just apply a little paint here. This is water-based paint, so this will wash off easily. The idea is that now I'm going to lay the wood on top of this, and it's going to mark out the areas in which I need to then chip down. So I put this up like so. Make sure I have the right side. I have the one area here where I drilled a hole. There it is. I got some paint on the wrong side, but I can always fix that later. So as you see now, I have this resting thoroughly on here. I now know roughly where I need to chisel out some space for the sort of butt-up areas on those angle irons are, so I can get this to sit more flat. And also so I can get a better fitment in general and get more support out of this, because right now, as you see, this is a little rocking and rolling. I could just tie it down, but that's not going to work quite right. So, next step is to actually go in, after making sure I've gotten this area as well treated as possible with the paint, and chip off the area where the paint is, and get this to be as flat as I can get it. Alrighty, and you join me now quite a few hours later. I've been working pretty hard on the fitment, and I managed to pretty much pull it off. I'll show you what I did. The thing that was killing me is that I have these bolts on these angle irons, which are again from a bed frame. I'll try to get you in the shot there. There we go. These things take up a lot of space, and they push the height of the board up, as I showed, I think, in those shots. The end result, this was not sitting flat. So I had an issue where this side of the board was higher, and none of this section here was making contact. As you see, I've already drilled a hole in there to actually physically mount it. So what I had a situation was that this area here wasn't doing any support, and this area here was doing all of it because of these 3 points. The same story on this side here, again 3 points. So what I did, as you can see, is pretty simplistic. I painted these white with some watercolor paint, so this will come off. And I went ahead and then placed this on top of it, pressed down hard, and basically used it like a giant stamp. Then I went outside, and with a chisel, rudimentary, or roughly chiseled out the holes. This is kind of sloppy, but it'll do the trick, and you won't see it anyway. It's underneath. Now, the advantage of doing it this way is that I have effectively created a locking mechanism that will help locate this every time I put it back in. So now, if I put this right back down there and slide into position with the end lining up there, this will drop down and lock. And just like that, as you see, it's locked into position, and it doesn't go anywhere. I'm obviously going to screw this down, but now I have an easy way of locating it. So what I've done, that's where I am currently. The next issue I had was with the fitment. I unfortunately broke in another screw. This one actually I tried to drill out, and I didn't realize it, but I was doing things right. But I was supposed to actually stop with the drill and actually use, as I have these extractors here, and use a plier to reverse the bit. Didn't do it, but luckily I got it to where I needed it to be. Anyway, the problem was that this was too high. This joining point here was just a little bit too high. So to get around this, I messed around with this screw. As you remember, I had a shim underneath this that goes underneath this area. I went ahead and obviously broke the screw initially here, so I put this new screw in, which is one of these jobs right here. This is an 8x2 style. I got what that's 8 and whatever it is seconds. 8x2 number 8 and 2-inch screw. Went ahead and ran that through to hold it in place, and it worked, except it pushed this down too low. So what I did is I took advantage of the fact that there's an extra shim in place here and loosened the screw to get this up. So that lined it up beautifully, and now it fits very nicely. This is a very smooth transition. The only catch is by doing this, I managed to ruin the head. I tried to drill this out with the actual drill extractor thing, but apparently what you're supposed to do is, according to the bottom, and I wish I had seen this a little sooner, is drill into it, use the hammer to confirm you're tapped in, and then use a wrench to get it out, which I didn't think of. So unfortunately, that head is now going to be permanently like this. I'm going to have to camouflage this, or maybe even cut it off. I'll probably just camouflage it since it's doing its job and just work around it. I've done that in the past. And I'll have to put 1 or 2 more screws in to make sure it's nice and secured. These angle irons, mind you, aren't fully secured either. Let me get you some light over here. Let me see if I can magically make light. There we go. Well, as you see here on the side of my board, this is mounted in it's right next to the actual side supports that the extension are on. So all I really have to do to get a little bit more support out of this is to go ahead and drill more holes. There's already a hole here, so I'll probably put a screw in there without much of a problem, just to tie this down more thoroughly. And that probably will be enough, although I may add another screw to it. Same story on this other side. I haven't tied this one in yet. If we look, where is that screw? Oh, here it is. As you can see here, this actually has 2 more holes that can be utilized on the side right there. That'll go right into the board itself. All I need to do is put screws in there, and that will hold those mounts in place. And that essentially will make this thing a very, very stable support. So, I'm going to keep working on this now. I'm going to now tie down my irons and continue to work. I'm then going to figure out how to fit my extension over there, which is going to go beyond this point, beyond my engine house there, where I'm going to put a small factory. Right now, and possibly something else. You'll have to wait and see. Alrighty, as when we in our last episode, all right, maybe I shouldn't be so dramatic. But anywho, my last part of this project was to get one more support on this side because this is kind of loose still. Then unfortunately I noticed something in this particular section of track, which is now level, was down a whole step. I don't know if I have footage of it, and I wish I would have caught it. I'll see if I can dig some up where it was that bad. But I looked and it actually dropped. This was always never perfectly level, but now it was like a huge drop going down, like a huge step. So what it turned out is that the shims had either fallen out of place or the wood had warped or whatever. Whatever the case, I wasn't going to deal with that. So what I had to do is, because obviously it would have caused derailments, and it had been a problem in the past, so I did is I went underneath here, and I redid the shims. So you see I used some mending brackets and a few other things, and put them in place to jack this up so it would hold in position. And that seems to have done the trick. So now, this is pretty much level again, like I want it. And I'm basically fixed that problem. So I can move on now and get what I was actually going to get done. As you can see, that is a much more satisfying result. Instead of having to put an underlay for the track to keep it level, it now goes straight over by itself without any issues at all. All I'm going to do now is tighten up the screw, one of them that holds this down. I'm not going to put this one back in until I know it's in good shape. So right here, I'm just going to grab my handy-dandy screwdriver, or rather drill with its bit, and just tie this thing down. Just give it a little tight. I don't want to make it too tight right now. I want this board to flex up. And yeah, I think that's going to do just fine. And so yeah, I fixed another problem in the process, which is pretty cool, and I can keep working. Alrighty, so I'm nearing my stopping point for the night. I'm currently putting up the extension, which is going to be this piece of wood right here. To do that, I'm going to use these angle irons, as I showed before. I installed one. As you can see, there's no hole for the bottom. I'm going to fix that in a bit. There's just one other problem I ran into, and that is, as you can see here, the control panel for the front is located right there. So a full-on angle iron, I'd like to grab one. Well, there is no way in hell, I should say, that a full-on angle iron is going to fit in there. See, it just doesn't work. So I did, as they say, if it doesn't fit, make it fit. I went ahead and made this particular angle iron, shelf support, whatever you'd like to call it. And you see I cut the bottom off, so now this will fit right there. I'm going to screw it down now, and that'll be my second support. And that's how I'm going to hold it in place. I may have to make one more of these. I'll see later on if I need it or not. Not by how loosely or well this mounts. I'm going to just mount it loosely initially, and then I'll tighten it up later on. I'm also going to have to put more screws, I think, in this, although I think the two top ones do a good enough job of holding it in place. I don't think I'm going to need the third one on the bottom, but I may put one in. Okay, onwards and upwards. Alrighty, time for a much-deserved and much-needed update on this extension project on my HO layout, which will soon be brought back into service. As you can see here, I've made quite a bit of progress. I've installed this panel, or at least loosely. It hasn't been tied down yet. That's what I'm going to do just now. What happened here is, initially, as you noticed, I didn't have that here. I thought I was just going to leave it like it was. And after a while thinking about it, I realized there was a good reason to put it here, and that is that I had this siding that already went to nowhere. As a lot of people have complained about, there was this siding here. It was designed to serve the station, and then it merged back in here where there used to be a switch. That switch is gone now. What I'm going to do is take this track that used to just merge back into this track, which goes to the engine house and still exists to this day, as you see. I'm just going to take this track and just have it run straight to this track here, and then have this track instead come all the way around and run across to the extension. And that'll be my branch to the Clockworks factory. I'm going to move over there. I'm also going to try to move the station over here once I get this Clockworks thing out of here. That'll give me room to work with that as well, and give this sort of a better sort of copacetic place to put the station in place. I may keep it in the corner, and I may keep it on the curve if I can't make it work. I'll figure something out. Anywho, that's where I am so far on this. The idea, again, is by having this further extension gives me a little bit more length on the branch and gives the branch a little bit more of a purpose and makes it look better in general. The support on this is actually that old bridge that used to be here. If you remember this old railing that used to block it, that's now gone, as you see. I'm going to have to, in the end, do one more thing like that here. But if you notice, the supports are the same. I used the same iron bars that were on that one, and I put another one in, again, tying it into this. Let me see if I can find it right there. I put this in. It's not as strong as I would have liked it, but it's actually going to work. This is light wood, and I don't have it's not a big section, so I can sort of get away with this. I may reinforce it by putting a T-bracket between this much stronger section here and that section just to tie it in, and I think that'll do well enough. Because I wish I had another angle iron, but I don't, so I'm just going to have to work with what I have. That other sort of angle iron is my father and I keep calling them from the beds frames that we had. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do here and just try to finish this up and get it running again. Today, I guess I'm going to just, since I have what time I have, little I have between Now I'm going to go ahead and tie this down with screws and make sure this panel is nice and tight, and then maybe make a small extension on this side here, and maybe cut another piece of wood, because I'm going to have to block this area off and make a merger point to get everything on here. I can't make it this wide because I just need room to get in and out of here. So we'll see how that works. Okay, kind of finishing up here for the day as the light's getting low in here, and there's not enough light in here for me to work beyond a certain point. As you can see, just a brief overview of what I did. I've tied all of this down. This has now been screwed into place. I actually went underneath the board and put another panel in. This one was already there from the previous assembly. Sorry, I can't get my camera to line up where I am. Yeah, this bracket here was already in previously, so I just let it sit on top, and that seems to work. I may tie this down, but right now it seems to be okay, so I'll leave it like that. I then put 2 other panels in here to try to reinforce it. Or is it, pardon me, this is, the zoom is awkward here. Let me go out to 5. There we go. I have this panel here, which I, again, tied into the main structure. And then I have these other 2 sections here, which hold it in place. And then I put these 2 corner pieces on. One is right there, and one is right there. This all makes sure this is very nice and tight in there, and it really is sturdy. The extension section, the actual extension I built, not as sturdy as I'd like. I've done a lot of work to reinforce this. I had 2 of these shelf brackets in here. As you see now, I've gone to 3 of them to make sure it's nice and stable. And it's a lot better than it was. It's still kind of shaky. I've also tied this in with a cross T support. Try to keep it as level as possible, and I've already started laying track. Okay, time for another update on my extension project here. Still not sure what I'm going to call this little extension off of Seacliff. This is what this area is known as. That was put in back in 2009. Installed this switch here, though I notice it's not locking into place right. I guess I must have damaged it putting it in. Though I do feel a little bit, it's not as strong as it should be. I may have to change that curved switch again. Anyhow, that's going to stay put. As you see, I put now a double track main line going across here. This, you remember, is the original line going to the engine house, which I've now also reconnected. I put, just for the time being, a straight section in, and that seems to work. There's a big gap in here, though. I may have to put a small section in here or mess with these tracks a little bit more. Actually, I think I just fixed it there. But anyway, here, yeah, if you remember, let me move this out of the way. Sorry about that. Obviously, this has been a construction in progress. Get rid of that. Over here, as we see, this is the original branch that ran to the engine house, which is still in place here. All I did is, if you remember, again, this is where the switch used to be, where the tracks met and went together. What I've done again is I've taken that out and basically made 2 separate main lines. Made a separate, line out of it. This line, instead of now merging back into here and going to the engine house, now goes over here to the extension. And where I've also now put in a double track passing place, because I like having these so I can move trains around each other. I can also run around a consist and put the engine on the back or the front if I decide that's how I want to run this. Just gives me more options, and I can also just park an engine or set here just if I need more storage, because I always need more. And that's how it's probably going to be. And now, if you're wondering why I haven't made much more progress, it's really quite simple. I need right switches, and guess which kind of switch I don't have? Right switches. This is all, again, tied down, all set to go. I put actually, as I mentioned, I don't think I'd said this before, so let me actually go underneath and show you something. I did add a 3rd support underneath here. Get rid of this darn thing. As you can see, I went underneath here and added yet another support to it. So there are now 3 of these shelf support thingies in here. And I've also tied it into the rest of the structure here. Put a few more braces on it to hold it tight. It's a little wobbly for my taste, but it's not too bad, so I'm going to just live with that. Because there's nothing else I can really do to strengthen this anymore like that, except maybe put a leg down here, and I don't want to do that. Although if it comes down to it, I would. I can't really go any further wide with this because I want an entry point here. So this is going to be a bit of a cliffhanger here. I don't particularly care for that. As you see on this part of the layout, extension, I should say, I went out of my way to avoid turning this into a cliffhanger. And I'll zoom you out a bit there. And I pulled it off pretty well. This has got plenty of room now, and I don't have to worry about it being one. But over here, well, it's going to be pretty close. This is, again, that right switch, in case you didn't recognize it from the front that used to be there, which I put back in place. This is a manual switch I had in storage. I'm also pretty much running out of tracks here. The only tracks I have that are going to be 18 inches to handle these turns. Again, this is going to be for just 40-foot box cars, so that'll work fine. I'm not going to run passenger trains in here because there's no reason to. I might run like the really small passenger cars over it. But you can look at my collection here of parts. I do have one right manual switch with old brass tracks on it, because again, these are getting to be hard to come by for some reason lately. I have plenty of left switches, but no brass switches. And as for 18-inch curves, all I have is this from a Mahano set that I reviewed years ago. Still on the channel if you want to check that out. I have these old steel alloy, as they call them, 18-inch curves, although admittedly they're in pretty good shape for steel alloys. These usually pit and start corroding. These are actually in really good shape considering. So I'm probably going to have to use these at least temporarily. Again, it's a switch area. I probably should upgrade those to nickel silver, but again, I just don't have any nickel silver 18-inch turns. I thought I was done with them, but it's just with the layout this small, you're stuck using them. I also have some straight steel alloy track. I'm also, and I may need to use this because I'm completely out of straight sections. I cleaned out my stash building this passing place and main line. I'm not going to cut this down. I want 2 tracks here. So I'm going to be heading up for a trip with the folks in a couple of days here. Maybe I can stop by a hobby shop I know in the area and see if they have the tracks I need. Just to get another package or 2 of straight tracks, straight nickel silver and steel alloy, and of course some right switches. I need switches desperately. These are manual. I don't mind. I don't think I'm going to electrify these so they can be manual too, so I can save some money that way. I don't see any reason to electrify these, and I'd like to actually get. I find in my older age, perhaps I'm more mature now, but I just really enjoy having the tactile nature of being able to throw the switch. I do not like how the HO switch throws throw. I almost wonder if you can get a Kato switch throw for these things, because I really do not dig the way those things work. They get stuck all the time. They cause shorts. I may have to find a new way around that. Anywho, this is all going to be manual, so it won't be an issue. Pardon the mess over here. I've been kind of weighing this down to help kind of balance it out a bit, because it hasn't been used. This is just scrap wood that I found that I used for this thing. And yeah, it's come together pretty well. All of this, again, is secured very tightly. See, it's a very firm structure. This is much stronger than everything else because of what I used for it. I was able to somehow pull off everything else here. I may have forgotten again to tie down the support that's in here, this little middle section here to the frame. I don't think I put a screw through that. I'm going to have to probably go in there at one point with my drill and do it. But right now, if this is going to hold as well as it is, I may just leave it like that and not mess with it. Why? As I say, leave well enough alone because I don't want to upset the wood and make it move or warp. The wood connection here, I was very careful to shim this, and it has come out pretty well. This is a little bit bent here for my taste. May have to mess around with this a bit, but I think that'll be fine. If I run into problems with it, I'll go back over it and I'll mess with it. The switch is already kind of messed up. I don't know how, but again, as I said, this does not seem to lock into position anymore like it should. I don't know what I did to it. It's brand new, so I'm kicking myself for that. But yeah, other than that, it seems like this is in pretty good shape. As long as nothing derails on this siding, I'll probably leave it like it is. If I do start having problems, I'll figure out a way of underlaying this or doing something else. It might also be the tracks are slightly bent because, again, these are not the greatest in shape. I don't notice anything difference here in terms of height. Yeah, this is actually level underneath here, so I don't know why this is like that. There's literally nothing to push this up. So I don't know what's going on there. So I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with that whole mess, why it won't do what it's supposed to do here. But yep, that's where I am so far on this, and until I get more tracks, I'm kind of stuck. And everyone's probably wondering, oh, some more rail joiners, I didn't even see those. What I'm planning to put here on that little extension area. Well, I have this clock factory, which I found online a number of years ago, called the Hanson Clockworks. I don't know who, I found this on eBay, fully built up, ready for sale. Someone obviously customized it. I think that's a standard model power kit, if I remember correctly. Someone did a lot of work to it. There's even a screw stuck on the top. I think that was me. Have to knock that out. My plans are to have this here. I was planning to have it in that yard, but I never used it. I have to clean this off, obviously, but I'm going to put this here at some point and have the trains run right past into it. This is going to have the loading dock here, and there are going to be 2 sidings, which are going to come around. And I'll probably just put them at a slight angle here. In fact, I could probably put one siding in now. It'd be pretty cool if I could pull that off. Just at least temporarily see how this is going to work. I have extra tracks here. Here's that one of those junky Mehano tracks, and I'd like to have it straight by the time it gets there. So maybe I'll just go one little curve section here. Let me mess with this and see what I can come up with. Okay, after a little finagling and accidentally unpausing the video, which would have given me a smoother cut, actually stopping the video instead of pausing it would have given me a smoother cut, etc. I've now come up with this. I went in with, in the end, just a small curve track. And I think actually that's going to do it with the single right switch. I think I'm going to leave it like that and just run it as such. I really would like to have a straight section here in this one, so maybe I'll take this one out and replace it with a straight turn, because it really isn't going to make much difference. I don't want to have I want to have the siding straight, not turned. Or maybe I'll try putting a curved section ahead of that. But yeah, that looks like that's how I'm going to keep it. This is going to be the Clockworks' new location after I clean it off, obviously, and do a few things to it. Well, this new parking sign came off. Look at this shipping department. Looks like I'm going to have to get this thing put back in here. Little decal up there. Yes, I'm going to have to put that in there somehow. Anywho, that looks like it's how it's going to be. So that's where I am currently. I'll have to get this thing powered up at some point here to test it out. Right now I got other things to get done today, and I'll go from there. Okay, I've reached my stopping point for today. I've laid the track out. Again, I can't test any of this because the layout is currently not up and running. See, I went with a curved siding here. I don't like curved sidings, but that's all I could do. I wanted to have at least 2 here, and there's just no other way of doing it from the angle I've got. I may have to come up with another way of making a turn here, perhaps maybe put a curve switch in and do it sooner. But anyway, this is probably how it's going to be because I can't think of any other way of managing it. I'm going to clean this depot thing up a little bit more with some compressed air and some brushes. And yeah, that's how it's probably going to handle it. That's how the siding is probably going to work over here. I now have a double siding to serve this factory. I may try to squeeze another switch in here, maybe somehow. I don't think there's any way of doing it, though, because I have this other siding that ends over here. So unless I put a full-on turn here and then put a curve switch in or something else, I don't know how else I could do it. But anyway, this is how it's going to be, and I think I'm going to keep it like that. I may even try to extend off in this direction toward the board, although I think that's going to be awkward, although I might be able to get more trackage out of it. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it for at this point. I'm going to clean this up and eventually get the power on here and test everything out. Okay, update on the progress of my extension here. As you can see, I've cleaned up quite a bit of the seemingly never-ending mess I've had here. I've now put in a double-track main line. I've added the little section back where the bridge used to be because I overhung again. Just in summary, what I've done again is I've taken that switch out that used to merge these 2 tracks back into the engine house track over here, and basically made them 2 separate lines. This line over here now goes to the new extension, which I'm not sure what I'm going to call yet, probably something like Clearfield or something, where I have my Clockworks place thingy. Factory, which I used to have up by my, which I'm saying for lack of a better term, which I used to have up in my main yard over here at Seacliff. Now it's going to sit over here, back here, and not be used for anything else. Well, be used, I should say, for the siding, but not be used, I should say, for the main yard is what I meant to say. Now be used as its own separate industry, so it's separate from that, which gives you more room in Seacliff to do things. And also adds a little bit more of a branch line. Again, here's what I put in all. I've secured all until last time. I'm not sure how much of that I filmed. I had problems with the camera, but I got all this secured and tied down. I've got extra tracks laying around because I'm still messing with this. I don't know how good or bad this is going to work, or if it will work at all. I think what I'm going to do now, tonight, just before I go to work here, is to fire this thing up and see what will work and what won't. So, pardon the mess again. I've been working on this non-stop and slowly but surely getting things done. I managed to, again, grade everything together. Here's that extension I put in over here. I also put a small extension on the side here. This is more or less to protect the engines from falling off the board because this is kind of a cliffhanger. I don't particularly care for that. I may have to mess with this still more. And I think I have right over here, I have enough room to put a small town in because of how this works. I may try to figure something out later, but we'll see what happens. First off, I just want to see if this track will work and if the layout in general will work, because as most of you have noticed, I have not had this layout on for 3 years. So I think the next thing I'm going to do here is go ahead and plug in my DCC system for this layout. Okay, I've plugged it in, and my lamp is just kicked in on the side over here. I guess I must have had that plugged in last time I used this. I heard the DCC system beep, and there is a status light on it. Let's see if I can get this thing to fire up. Pardon the mess again. I've been cleaning this basin up pretty aggressively in more recent times to try to get this thing up and running again. Alright, I found one of my Digitrax controllers. I'm ready now to start this up. This has engine number 223 and 2500 on it. I'm wondering if 223 is that one all the way back here. I think that was the last engine I ran. Well, only one way to find out. Let us turn the power for the system on. Power. Uh-oh. That's not good. It tells me I've got a short someplace, not surprisingly. Didn't think it was going to be that easy, did you? So I'm on HO scale mode. Oh, that's nice. It was on N scale. How did that happen? Well, the power is definitely getting to the layout. The signal's on. Let me try turning some of these circuits off and see what works. Okay, I'm just going through my panel and just turning things off to see what would make this thing start. That's what I like about having a panel like this. I can choose what works and what doesn't work. I can just sort of take things off until I get power. I think I'll try it now and see what happens. Power! Ah! That's good, it didn't beep. Oh. No, it's still unable to do anything. I'm just going to keep turning all these circuits off and see if I can get anything out of this unit. Okay, I've got all these circuits off now, so I should be able to get power on, at least it's to a certain extent. Let's try that again. Power! Still offline, still not generating power. So clearly I have some wiring issues to be dealt with. Hopefully this DCC system didn't bite the dust after all this time sitting here. It wasn't new. It was an outdated model when I bought it, I mean, but it would be cool if it didn't actually short out. That'd really be cool, but not looking too good for it now, is it? Let's try that again now. Power. Still staying offline. Track status is still staying off, which is not good. Still offline. Oh, Lord. Ugh, for God's sake. No, and track status is still no good. No track status. Ah, track status. I got a light. Ha 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 ha. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. Although it's not powering anything right now. So let's start turning circuits on and see what happens. So, track 1. No short. Circuit 2. Still good with the track status light. Circuit 3. One of my locomotives is starting up. Extension track 8. These all both have to be set to 8 if I remember correctly. 8, 8, 8. All of them are set on 8. It's one of the TCS equipped engines. I recognize that sound. Let's now start going through here and start everything else up. Let's see what works. Oh, this is in here. What the heck is that doing in there? Let's go like this if I remember correctly. I'm not sure what was wrong with it, but turning the switch on and off did the trick. May have not been anything. How all these switches are. Yeah, no, I just timed it like almost like a jet plane, starting it up like a jet fighter. There are all kinds of switches you got to throw. Once it's fired up, though, you can basically turn it on and off from that point. Okay, so I have one engine idling away at the station here. I can hear that. Oh, no, actually, no, it's this engine over here. That is number 2500. And it is actually set up here. See if it'll work. Yep. So 2500 actually is the one that started up. This is a U25B that I built. It's a Stewart model's U25B. I actually built this for my U-boat documentary, but never actually used it. It just kind of sat here the whole time. And then I found other ways of doing it and didn't bother. So let's see if this thing will actually function. Lights on. I think that's a TCS in here. Or it doesn't look like it has headlights on it. Alright, let's see what she does. Alrighty. And we are moving for the first time in years. First time in 3 years, this layout is alive. It's alive. It's alive. Oh, it's stuck. I shouldn't say that too soon. Sound cut out. Well, the engine's still working, but the sound cut out. Oh, I see. It came off the track. Must have had this set wrong, or it was derailed to begin with. Oh, I see. The track isn't even aligned correctly there. I got to fix that. Let's try this one more time here. No juice at all. That's interesting. How did I lose power on this? It was working fine, and so I lost all power going to it. Oh, I see what happened here. This slipped out. It's taking power directly from that track. I wasn't used to that. Ugh. Good grief. So this whole track is not hooked in. Again, I did some work on the engine house here, so I had to splice things in and out. So it looks like I messed with some of this track and maybe a little bit too much, so... Okay, minor electrical problem solved. I had a few disconnected tracks, including the one by the engine house here, which wasn't hooked up, because I had ripped it apart to work on it. Now, let's say we take this engine down the main line, down the new main line, and see how it works. And just make sure I have that track switch thrown correctly. Is that thrown? No, it isn't. I'll reach over here and do that. I'm gonna probably have to re-electrify these switches. There we go. It's now cleared for that track. Okay. Let us now pull out of here. See if I can back up. Nope, wrong way. This is again a steward hobby. This is a steward's hobbies. U25B, which I picked up a while back. It was sort of an unfinished project. I put a decoder in it and got it up and running. But no, I don't want to go that way. I want to go the other way. Why do you keep going that way? See how well the TCS decoder does with this. Ooh, is that switch thrown? Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, it's going into the yard. All right, let's go back out of here. Looks like I might make a pickup here unwillingly. Yeah, it's going to pick up then. Okay, let's change directions. I'm surprised this thing just fired right up after sitting there for 3 years. Well, admittedly, it was the most recent engine I completed. Didn't change directions again. I keep telling it to change directions and it doesn't always respond. There we go. The power is weak, and it shouldn't be a problem because that's got the heat alive on it, but even then it failed. That track obviously needs cleaning, so it's a good thing I am pulling these things out. Let's go all the way forward and clear the switch. Away it goes. Making a lot of noise. They're not happy, but I can understand that they've been sitting in storage for I don't know how long. About 3 years. So now just get past the switch here and I'll throw it. Pardon my reach. Bell on, and let's back out of here. Nope. Again, it doesn't seem to want to reverse when I hit the switch. Just thought of that. It's moving again. I think the track is just dirty here. I hope it isn't dead. That's a big mess to fix. It is moving. I have it set to a slow speed. I'm just creeping slowly but surely into that thing. Okay, so it looks like I have a power feed problem. I'm going to have to hook a feed up here someplace. I do have an extra feed track sitting someplace along here. Yeah, there's no power getting to this track at all. I don't know why. There just isn't. That's how the other section, I think, ran for the longest time. It had power coming off of that track right there. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to have to do some wiring and run some wires into this section right here. Okay, I've hooked up another power source, but it looks like that section back there is just dead for some reason. I don't know why. I'll have to go back through it and see. I did connect this other power track, which I put in before. Looks like I'm going to be buying another curved terminal track to make this work. I'll probably install it right here on this turn. Here she comes, straight through. Let's go a little quicker than that. Up to speed step, let's do 14. Have to couple to this car here, pardon the rough angles there. Going on to the new branch. It's going to rock and roll a little bit here. Yeah, see, the track is a little bit bent, but I think it'll work. Again, this is only going to be pushing this type of cars through here. I'm only going to use the 40-footers. Let's go down a little bit further on the zoom. GFDL 16 Scream, or whatever you'd like to call it. We have a new triple switch, which I just installed. And we'll power off right here. I didn't couple right, obviously, because it didn't stay on. Do the other way around. Sound effects are jumping the line again. So now I have a place to store extra coaches here. See if I can make it back through the other way now. The sound effects aren't quite synced on this engine. I don't think I ever finished this project. I kind of put the decoder in and that was it. I gotta move the switch. The switch got moved again. This has got to be more straight like that. Yeah, it's more like it, like that, probably. Now this track has been hammered down or stapled down or anything. I'm just testing it. I have a feeling it's going to die right around here. But now it seems to have power. It might just be Keep Alive doing it. Because right now it's getting through it without a problem. I don't know what was going on before. Something may have been loose after all those years of sitting still. Understandable, I'd be that way too if I was woken up after a 3-year nap. Admittedly, I'm not good at getting up in the mornings in general, or nights, actually. Alright, so yeah, it's working. Okay, so it's actually a successful first test run. I had some problems, but that's nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. Now, I do want to try one more thing. I've got another engine sitting over here in the yard I'd like to try to fire up. Which one is this over here? This is number... What is that now? Ugh. 640, 540? I'd like to try to get it started without having to move it. Just gonna put this guy near the track, actually. $543, I think that is. Oh, old eyes, I can't see without my glasses. 543, yep, let me try this out and see if it'll start her up. See if she'll kick over. Ugh. Make sure I select the track so it'll get power. That's got to be set to that. This is going to be set. There we go. It's alive, sort of. Yep, there it is. Do I have control of her now? Yep. Let's pull this old RS3 out of there. That's a Bachmann TCS equipped RS3. Ooh, got stuck there. Ooh, it's stuck on something else now. Let's go forward and see what happened here. I have a hard time getting this thing to change directions. I think this throttle has had it. I'm going to have to probably change. I do have a solution for that in mind. I don't know if it came off the track or if it's derailed. It was just hooked on something, I think. Ugh. Weird. That was weird. I don't know what it was hooked on. Ugh. It's been sitting there for 3 years. Oh, and it's stalled. And that's not good for a TCS engine to do, because these are, again, keep alive equipped. I think it's completely off the track. Oh, that explains it. Let me try going back and forth once or twice with this. Then I think I'm going to have to get going here. Oh, there it is. All right, it worked. Hooray! Okay, so 543 also runs now. Directional headlights don't seem to work. It's stuck on in both directions. It jumped again? Did it jump the track? No, it's just getting hooked on something. No, it was off the track. Whoa, that's weird. I have to know what's going on with this thing here. Oh, I see. The track wasn't thrown. And that, you know, it helps to throw your switches, folks. And I was just testing you there. Oh, don't do that. See? Should have caught me. Alrighty. I remember what the switch for the brake is on this. I'm going to have to look that up online. Change directions again. Move him out of the way a little bit. Already running 2 trains at once. You see such a difference with the TCS decoders. That's why I've been putting them in so aggressively in most recent years. That engine was one of the last projects I did, and I'm glad it turned out as well as it did. Let's go with the RS3 a little bit further forward now. Well, my switches as manually as these are, again, manual thrown. They've always been manually thrown. I changed the horn on this thing. Change our directions. Let's go the other way now. I think I'm stuck on something here. I've been shoved into it so hard. No wonder yet that's what happened. You got shoved into it pretty hard. Oh, this is on the track. How did that happen? Where is it? That's out. Ugh. A lot of junk in those yards. I just love how this engine can just creep out of the yard. That's the thing about TCS. Or the Keep Alive. You can just crawl along and it won't matter. It'll just do whatever it wants. It doesn't mind. I love it. Again, I love how the engine will just suddenly start to really rev up and say, hey, I want to get going here. Which is what the engineer would be doing to maintain the speed. And there she is, off the line. First train on the main line here in about 3 years. I think I'm just going to pull this thing out and just get it out of the way for the time being. Okay, back on this project, and as you see, much work has been done. I know I say this all the time. As we can see here, this used to be a dead-end siding, which I had merging into a passing place kind of thing, but now I've extended this whole track all the way out to the town itself, which I'm putting out here. I'm going to call this town Henson after the Henson Clockworks, which again needs to be cleaned up. I haven't gotten to cleaning a lot of this, so please pardon the condition of everything. Anywho, yeah, I put that track in, just extended the siding all the way out here. Maybe go like that. I'm still kind of messing with the buildings. I haven't placed anything permanently. The tracks are secured with screws, as you can see in some places. I'm going to do something more permanent later on. I'm just messing with this to figure out how I want it. So I just put 1 or 2 screws here and there to stop it from moving too much, so I can at least run it and see what I think. And again, I then initially, of course, I just had the one switch going into just a cutoff siding, a passing place. I went ahead and just decided to turn this back into a full-on just to put a full-on track in and just use this as a siding so I can go between the 2 tracks easily enough. So that's all set. See here, I got the 2 switches in place. And again, I have the little yard here by the Henson Clockworks for supplies to be brought in and out. 3 tracks through a triple switch. I believe this is a Pico switch. Yeah, that's a Pico switch if I remember correctly that I installed here. Where the heck did these things come from? Anywho, that's where I am right now. What I'm going to do now, and you're just in time, not that I planned all this, of course, but I'm going to try running this extension right now. I've got a train on the track right here. I've powered this layout on a couple of times already and cleaned the tracks up. This section shouldn't be a problem. Most of this, again, is nickel-silver. There are 1 or 2 sections that are steel rail, which I just use because I happen to have them. I'm going to be getting more nickel-silver, and it's only 1 or 2 sides, so I might be able to get away with leaving them in place. I just don't like to waste things is my thing. Those are brand new from a train set I'd gotten, which I never used, and I just couldn't bear not to use them. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to take number 228 over here and see about testing these tracks out. Get some power on here. Powering up the layout. There we go. Okay, 228. All the engines are starting up because, of course, they all power on at the same time. Another thing I should also note, I put power on all these tracks. This section has its own feeder now, and this section over here, on this side, also has its own feeder. I just ran a single length of telephone wire through. I used all 4 wires. 2 of them run one, 2 of them run the other. See how this thing works? Doesn't look like I have power on here right now. Doesn't look like I got power here. That's not good. I have the track plugged in over here. It's all wired up. That's strange. Okay, I don't know what's wrong with this engine. It's clearly getting power, but it won't respond to any commands. It might be the DCC system or the throttle I'm using, so I'm just going to pull this off the track and put it to the side for a moment. Maybe put it on my workbench and take a look at it. It probably is okay. It's just my DCC system being funky. As you can see, I am working on other projects right now. Let me go now and get a very conveniently located other locomotive in service. Let's do this number 220. This has got a WOW decoder on it. I wanted to test it without a WOW decoder to see what the difference would be. And it immediately powered on. Okay, Loco 220. See if she'll do what she's supposed to do. I still don't have control here. What's going on? Yeah, okay, I'm going to have to reset my DCC system for a second here. Now I got it. Okay. Might have been the DCC system, so let's go ahead. Hopefully I'm not in for one of those, although I have had this for quite some time. That's almost 20 years old now. It's in place. Let's go out of here. Let's go now. We're going to go back up and take these passengers to the new station via the new line. Switch is closed. Let's go nice and slowly ahead. This is kind of cheating a little bit because this engine has WOW sound, as the WOW decoder kit on it, so it does have Keep Alive. I can at least check the track for functionality. Oh, I got hooked on something here. That's weird. What did I get hooked on? That's strange. Okay. Let's keep going. Try it again. Take 2. I'll go back and forth a few times here to see what's going on. Usually it doesn't work on the first try. No matter how careful you are, I find there's always some kind of problem. There it goes. Yeah, our mover sound stopped on it for some reason. I gotta figure out what's going on there. Oh. Alright, I gotta move the buildings a bit, but that worked. Let's now reverse and get out of there. Okay, that worked pretty well. I think I came off the track before because they were too close. Let me check here. I gotta tell you, I'm not used to doing this and actually being able to derail the train with one hand. But no, it's on the track. It's all fine. Oh, this one did come off. Okay, I'll try it again. I'm going to move these buildings a bit. You can hear I have all the engines running. I'm kind of just testing everything. We'll go backward and forward one more time to make sure this is good. That sounds right now. Okay. It's not quite the proper sound for this engine. It's from a different engine, slightly different Alco. But I like the turbo sound on it, so... Oh, I came off the track here. That's not good. 7 to put the brakes on. It didn't matter. It came to a hard halt. So something wasn't set right. I think the track... Maybe my switch wasn't set? I definitely did not dig that. No, it's set. So let's now try this again. 220 forward ahead. Try this again. Take 173. Yeah, I guess a longer coupler would help this in those tight turns. This one doesn't have those. I thought I put one on here, but apparently not. It's still got its off-the-shelf from Atlas Accumates, which the company's obsessed with, probably because they have a design from them. And hit 7 to put the brakes on. Keep forgetting I can apply brakes on this engine. Yeah, it doesn't like that turn too much, does it? I think I just heard it come off the track. Nope, it's on the track. But the locomotive is off. I don't get that. That's weird. Of all the things, the locomotive to derail is unusual. So I gotta see what's going on with that. Obviously, that ain't good. Ain't good, no bueno. So I'm gonna mess around with this thing. It derailed again. Alright. Well, I see another engine's running backwards here. I know what's going on with that. Let me grab this one. Oh, it's 2500. Oh, for goodness sakes, I'm dropping everything today. Might as well get 2500 moving too while I have it. U25B, away it goes. Not going to run that one too quick because it's on the cliffhanger outer loop. So clearly this keeps derailing. I think the locomotive is at fault. Let me try something else. Let me try another locomotive. Okay, take 1073. Let's try this engine again. I don't know why that's revving up suddenly. 223. Why is the other engine revving up? That's strange. For some reason my engine number 223 in there is revving up like crazy. I gotta see what's going on here, folks. Sorry about that. Okay, take 1172. Let's go ahead and try this one now. I got 220 back on the track like I wanted. Let's go the other way. I had the switch thrown in the yard on that switch over here in Seacliff. That's why I did that. Okay, now it's moving forward. Okay, let's get lights. Do I have lights? Yes, I do have lights on this engine. I thought I left them in. Now it decides to start, of course. Huh. Very prototypical operation. Now what? Oh, for goodness sakes. The engine isn't even stopping. I said stop and it's still rolling. I don't think that has momentum on it. Alright, I'm taking this car off the track. I don't know what's going on with this thing. I'll have to take a look at that later. Okay, after a little messing around, oh, it stalled there. I got this running. I don't particularly care for soundtracks decoders, and I keep remembering why. The sound is great on them, but it's just their performance is erratic. This thing, as you see, the prime mover is cut out a couple times. It finds every chance to stall because it's outdated in terms of its power consumption. They don't have any direct means of installing Keep Alive unless you really know what you're doing. That's why I'm going with TCS. Anywho, as you see, I got the track working. I pulled that one car off because it kept derailing. I don't know what was wrong with it, or if it just didn't dig this locomotive. I just have the simulation now. I just have it on the clickety-clack mode. Now it's going to pull into Hanson over there. Now I'm going to back it out once it hits the bumper, and it's going to hit because I can't stop it. For some reason, the momentum is stuck on this, and it will not let me stop the train. Even when I've hit the emergency brake on it, it just keeps going. Again, I've never had good luck with these decoders. Oh, here's my Stewart U25B coming across here. That was a project I finished actually just before I shut this layout down for a number of years. That's a WOW decoder in there. See, I have it hauling right now a track cleaning train, like MOV train, and it just lost its coach. Oh, that's nice. I better go pull that off the track. Then I'll throttle this one up a little bit. Get this guy out of the way so we don't have a collision. My mail car, poor thing. Okay. Let me go back along the tracks now and back straight through. It's going to back straight through the station here. I usually have the train stop at this point, but I'm going to have it back all the way through. Go out a little bit further. I'm going to throw one more switch here and get this onto the main. It's a reach. I have to clean this up a little bit more. I have some facades I'm going to put on that wall back there to simulate a bigger town than it actually is. And it might help if I stop this train, wouldn't it? I guess I'm going to have to pull the locomotive off the tracks again. Piece of junk. So again, I have the throttle on 0, I have the brakes on, and it's still trying to move. This decoder is just so messed up. Oh, I hate these soundtracks decoders. I really hate them. I'm just going to pull this off the track. I've had enough. Ugh. What a piece of junk. I hate that decoder. I'm going to probably change this to WOW. As much as I like the sound effects that soundtracks put into this, I really cannot stand the lack of control that those decoders have. They jump the line. They don't respond accurately. They kind of just do their own thing. Okay. So that short passenger is going to sit there. And it looks like I got that done. So that's going to do it for this video. I've got some other projects to get ongoing, and this project is indeed up and running.